Hello and welcome to Bookish and Beverages. I'm Melissa and I share delicious beverages and summary recaps on fantasy book series so you can remember what happened without having to reread it. And today we'll be diving into The Foxglove King by Hannah Whitten. This is book number 1 in the Nightshade Crown series. Content warning: if you haven't read this book, save this video and come back later. Now, let's go grab our drink. For our beverage today, we'll be making a Butterfly Chamomile Tea. Here's what you'll need. In a tea strainer for loose leaf teas, add 1 teaspoon of Butterfly Pea Flower, 1 teaspoon of chamomile or 1 tea bag, add 1 cup of boiling water, cover, and let it steep for 3 minutes. Once it's done steeping, strain the tea, add honey or sweetener to your taste, stir, and enjoy. Drinks in hand, let's dive into our book. And first things first, a little bit of a world-building refresher. There were 6 mortals that ascended into gods and goddesses in their 24th year. In the present time, a consecration happens on a person's 24th birthday to commemorate this. The 2 main deities are Apollyon and Nyxara. Apollyon is the god of life, the sun, and the day. He possesses the magic of life known as spiritum and is the main god worshipped. Nyxara is the goddess of death, the moon, and the night. She possesses death magic known as mortem. 500 years ago, an event called the God's Fall took place. A power-hungry Nyxara tried to kill Apollyon, but he unalived her first. He became known as the bleeding god, and she became known as the buried goddess. The city of Delaire and the establishment of the church and citadel were built on her buried corpse to help contain the mortem that still leaks from her tomb today. Before Apollyon disappeared, he dictated the book of holy law to Gerard Arsenault, appointed him as the sainted king, and gifted his power, spiritum, to his chosen heir. However, no one in the Arsenault line has been able to wield spiritum yet. The other 4 gods were believed to have died off around this time as well. In the realm of the church, there is the Presque Mort and the Buried Watch. The Presque Mort are a group of mortem-using monks that got their channeling powers from having near-death experiences and protect the city against the leaking mortem by channeling it into stone or plants. The Buried Watch was a sister sect of the Presque Mort, tasked with guarding Nyxara's tomb and monitoring how much mortem leaked out. One of the priestesses, known as the Night Witch, went mad, tried to open the tomb, and claimed she was the goddess reborn. After this, the Buried Watch was disbanded. Many of them were killed, but a few survived and went into hiding and kept the order alive. Lore was born to a night sister down in the catacombs where the remainder of the Buried Watch live. Since birth, Lore has had the unique ability to sense and wield mortem. At 13, a crescent moon was burned into her palm, and her mom led her to the surface instead of letting her daughter be sent to the buried goddess's tomb, which was most likely going to end up in her death. Lore was taken in by 2 poison suppliers, Mari and Val, aka her surrogate moms. Present day. Lore has been undercover dating her boyfriend Michael for a year now to get intel on his boss. Once Michael leaves to work, Lore meets up with Val. Val tells her that her undercover operation with Michael is complete, time to dump him, and she needs to oversee a poison drop. She gets to the drop location a moment too late and decides to improvise to stop the bloodcoats, those are like the guards of the city, from finding the poison. Shit goes south and she gets captured. With one last trick up her sleeve, Lore channels mortem and then raises a freshly dead horse back to life. Add necromancy to her list of abilities. Her little trick gets her away from the bloodcoats, but she stumbles right into the Presque Mort's hands. She wakes up tied up in a room with 2 Presque Mort dudes, the hot, one-eyed Gabriel and Malcolm the librarian. While they wait, Gabriel teaches her how to shield against the constant, overwhelming sense of death. In comes Anton Arsenault, the priest exalted, the leader of the church and Presque Mort, and King August's twin brother. And he's not alone. With him is Val, who came to confirm Lore's identity. She sold out Lore for a contract to be the first official crown-sanctioned poison supplier. Ouch, that's a low blow. Lore is surprised yet again when Anton tells her they need her help. Task 1. With 2 whole villages mysteriously dead, they need her necromancy skills to raise one of the victims and get clues about their death. Task number 2. Spy on the Sun Prince Bastian to see if he's the traitor passing info to their enemy, the Carithian Empire. Playing courtier seems like a much better option than a slave on the Burnt Isles or death, so it's off to meet with the king. Seems like she's not the only one that's hit with a surprise. King August, the sainted king, throws Gabriel under the bus and forces him to take up his formal title as Duke of Belgia to introduce his cousin, Lore, to court. First order of courtly business, attend Bastian's consecration, which turns out to be a little unusual when Anton carves something into Bastian's palm. Back in their shared secluded apartments, Lore and Gabriel trauma bond over the vinegary wine until they get an invite and masquerade costumes. Joining the revelry, Lore is formally introduced to Ali, Gabe's ex-betrothed, and the handsome Sun Prince himself. Lore begins her spy duty as the social climbing country cousin. The next morning, Lore and Gabe attend the break of dawn morning prayers and are formally introduced to court. August finds Lore right after taking her down to the vaults for her necromancy duties. Another village fell victim to the mysterious wipeout, and they brought in the body of a child for Lore to raise, and all the boy keeps repeating is, "They've awakened." Back to her courtly spy duties, Bastian finds Lore chillaxing on the lawn, and Gabe finds them both. Lore and Gabe are in for a treat when Bastian takes them to see his newest and neatest pet, the dead horse Lore brought back to life, still alive and kicking it. In the middle of the night, and in a mad dash to get back to the vaults just in case the boy is still kicking it like the dead horse, Lore and Gabe run into Ali's father, Severin Bellegarde. After the awkward encounter, they make it into the secret tunnels when Bastian surprises them. He's onto their little charade, and he wants to play games by taking them to the fighting rings down by the docks in Lore's old hood. Bastian surprises them again as the one fighting in the ring against none other than Lore's ex, Michael. The Sun Press checkmates Lore and takes her out to the alley to get the full truth, but not before being interrupted by some thugs and having to pull his Royal Highness card. Lore reveals the truth of why she's at court and her true identity. Dun, dun, dun. Gabe finds Lore and Bastian as they sneak their way back into the Citadel. Gabe isn't too happy when he finds Lore spilled the beans on their secret operation. With the cat out of the bag, Bastian tells the spy duo, "You work for me from now on, or you can be sent to the Burnt Isles." Obviously, working with Bastian is the better option. Like a bad joke, we have a hot pious monk, a rakish carefree prince, and a poison-running necromancer entering the vaults to check on the dead boy. Yikes, he's still animated, and he's got another message. The night killed him, and to find the others, they are not destroyed. Reverse engineering her necromancy, Lore boots Bastian out of the vault to finish the job because, oddly enough, she has trouble channeling mortem around him. The next few days are spent sleeping and recovering, losing at croquet, and updating the king until news of a rare mortem leak has everyone scrambling. Lore joins the Preskmort to help with channeling and ends up stealing the show as she channels all the mortem herself, leaving all the morts wide-eyed, shocked, and horrified. After a week of weird dreams and sleep, Lore wakes up with Bastian in her apartments. Gabe isn't too happy about that when he comes back later, but it's time for more rest, and Lore snuggles up with Gabe to keep warm. It's research montage time in the church library with Malcolm because August and Anton are keeping secrets and they need answers. And what do they end up learning? Anton is also researching about spiritum. Coinkadink, I think not. And that some things were lost or changed in translation, like maybe only one heir of the Arsenal line can channel spiritum. Oh, and that the king is dying. Oops, Bastian spilled the tea on that last one. It's time for more tea with Allie and her friends, and on her way, Lore crosses path with Bellegarde again. She learns that another village has been wiped out. The king shows up and dismisses Lore, but she stays close to overhear their convo and search for the mysterious paper Bellegarde had. Its message? Just the number 75. The tea at tea time did not disappoint. Bastian confirms that the recent village hit was, guess what? 75 people. Could the secret cargo transports be the villagers' bodies? And could the Arsenault twins be involved? Only one way to find out. Back to the fighting rings, and this time it's Lore tapping in for a fight, planning to lose so she can get recruited for cargo work. And do things ever go as planned? Never. Lore, Gabe, and Bastian make a run for it when Bloodcoats raid the rings. The trio runs into one of the thugs from before, and Lore turns him into stone before he kills them. They cart his big stone body to Val and Mari's warehouse, where Lore and Gabe pull the mortem back out of the thug. And the silver lining on all of this shit going south? Mari has the info they need. The secret cargo is being moved to the catacombs under the Citadel. The trio makes it back to Lore and Gabe's apartments, and Gabe is in a piss-poor mood as his reality and the man, Anton, he puts on a pedestal is being challenged. With tensions brewing, Gabe and Lore momentarily give into their desires with a passionate makeout sesh until Gabe's pious control comes back online. With Gabe nowhere to be found the next night, Lore and Bastian make their way to the catacomb entrance. And look who decided to join them after all. Gabe. But they tell him to keep watch while they go under. Turning on her catacomb GPS system, Lore leads them towards the bodies. Is it a dead end or a trick door? Lore senses mortem in the door wall and untangles the mortem puzzle lock. They find the bodies inside the enormous cavern, and when Lore brings one back to life, they all reanimate as if connected. Creepy AF. The corpses chant, "They awaken." They start screaming, and then they zombie walk towards Lore and Bastian. Time to get the hell out of there, but the mortem is sticking to Lore like never before, and she can't close the door. Like a knight in shining armor, Bastian is shining, shimmering, splendid, and yanks the mortem from Lore, collapsing the bodies. What the fuck just happened? With more questions than answers, the dynamic duo make their way back to the exit. Well, it looks like Gabe sold them out. Anton and the Presque Mort are waiting to capture Bastian and Lore. Back to where she started, Lore is chained up in a chair again, this time with Bastian by her side. The truth is revealed. Anton and Bellegarde have been working together and pulling the strings behind the curtain. What? Bastian is the chosen Arsenault heir to wield Apollonius's spiritum and pave the way for Apollonius's return. Lore was the key to awakening Bastian's powers and vice versa. He helped sharpen her abilities. The law of opposites in action, according to Anton. Anton left breadcrumbs for Lore to follow down to the catacombs to raise the villagers' bodies and gain control over them before King August can wield his own dead army. The ball on the eclipse, the one that coincidentally happens to be on Lore's consecration and 24th birthday? Yep, August is planning to kill Lore and Bastian to take their powers for himself. Rude. Gabe takes Lore back to their apartments, and before he locks her away until the ball, they fight it out with no makeout session this time. And it's showtime. Lore and Gabe arrive as the ball is ending and just in time for one dance. While Gabe reluctantly dances with Allie, Bastian and Lore take to the floor as he tries to convince her to run away, neither willing to leave the other, and mostly because Mortem literally won't let Lore leave the city. With all the other guests dismissed, King August begins the ritual by carving the remainder of the moon and sun symbols in Lore and Gabe's hands so that they match and press their bleeding hands together. So it makes basically an eclipse on their hands. Ta-da! Mortem and spiritum surges through both of them, and then Anton finally decides to show up, putting August in his place. Nope, you won't be getting this power. Your son will. Anton stabs August, and before Anton crushes his skull in a gruesome manner, August throws the knife at Lore. She blacks out from her wound and wakes up in the stone garden by the well entrance to the catacombs. And guess who decided to enter the chat? Lore's mom, aka the Night Priestess. Looks like she worked her way up the ladder of the Buried Watch and cut a deal with Anton. Turns out Anton learned to dreamwalk into Lore's sleep, pulled out Mortem from her, and teamed up with the Buried Watch to use it to attack the villages, building an undead army for himself. I never liked him, but I hoped that maybe he wasn't as bad, but mostly for Gabe's sake, because he just worships the dude. But oh well. Anton pulls Mortem out of Lore to strike one more village. A bleeding out Lore remembers that she can also channel Spiritum now and pulls it from Anton, healing herself, and she also takes that knot of Mortem back into herself. Then in walks Bastian, the new sainted king. Anton tries to reason with Bastian that Lore needs to die to stop her powers from growing and her ascension as the moon goddess's avatar, ushering the apocalypse he foresaw. Gabe joins in on the crazy turn of events, finally growing a pair, and holds a knife to Anton. Bastian cares too much about Lore to hurt her, and Lore admits she's too selfish to sacrifice herself for the greater good of the world. That's a tough decision, Knowing she can't do anything to change their minds, the Night Priestess skedaddles back to the catacombs, and to placate Gabe and his attachment to Anton, Bastian agrees to let Anton live. And using his new Spiritum powers, Bastian turns Anton into a living roses and blood encased statue. So technically, he's still alive, just immobile. Days later, Bastian and Lore are sitting in the throne room as equals, attending courtly duties and pardoning prisoners. They renew the contracts with Valinmari, they legalize poison use for the terminally ill, and last but not least, Gabe walks in. Surprising both Lore and Gabe, Bastian appoints Gabe as the new Priest Exalted. That concludes the summary recap for the Foxglove King. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more summary recaps on your favorite fantasy series. If you enjoyed this one, please like, subscribe, and share with your fellow book lovers. And if you have any suggestions on fantasy series you want summary recaps on, just drop it into the comments below. And thank you. Thank you. Buried, why can't I say that word? Fish to sacrifice. Enjoyed the one. Maybe I shouldn't have hit that. Whoops.